Number 9. The Mudmen of Papua New Guinea. In one of the world's most remote jungles, situated in the western highlands of Papua New Guinea's Mowgli Valley, lives the Asaro tribe. They're largely known to the outside world as the Mudmen. They reside where roads, cars, electricity, and other modern conveniences are conspicuously lacking. Male tribe members slather thick gray mud under their bodies and wear huge, demonic-looking masks, a custom that dates back centuries, to a time when local clans fought over women, territory, and pigs. Legend has it that the people who became known as the Mudmen fled from a rival tribe and took cover in a nearby muddy river. They emerged from the water at dusk, completely covered in mud, and terrified their enemies, who thought that the Mudmen were evil spirits and fled the scene. There are variations of the story, depending on who you ask, and nobody knows for sure when the Asaro tribe started dressing as Mudmen, but researchers believe they've been doing it for roughly 4 generations, according to the BBC. Today, the Asaro tribe continues the tradition of covering themselves in mud, wearing fearsome-looking masks decorated with pig's teeth and shells, and wearing bamboo claws over their fingers, and carrying bamboo spears. Reporters have traveled deep into the jungle to catch a glimpse of the Mudmen up close. Number 8. La Pontasola. La Pontasola, or One Foot, is one of the many female monsters of South American folklore who target men in the middle of the jungle, appearing seemingly out of nowhere when a hunter or logger thinks about women. She's seductive and beautiful, and often resembles someone her victim is in love with, making it easy for her to lure an unsuspecting man away from his group. Once that happens, La Pontasola reveals her true, hideous appearance, which includes bulging eyes, one breast, and cat-like fangs. She attacks her victim, sucking his blood and/or devouring his flesh, and can move swiftly, despite only having one leg with a cow's hoof at the end. Because La Pontasola is protective of nature and the animal kingdom, she's known to disrupt the daily activities of men who work in the woods by causing them to become disoriented, blocking their paths and shortcuts, and misleading hunting dogs by throwing them off their scent trail. This character, with her taste for human blood, was inspired by vampire legend and may have been rooted in other concepts and stories. Some say that she's a mother who was exiled to the forest as punishment for killing her own son, and that locals chopped off her leg out of anger. She died from her injuries and became a ghost. Other stories hold that La Pontasola was a cheating wife who slept with her and her husband's employer. When her husband discovered her infidelity, he murdered her, and her soul somehow ended up inside the one-legged body it inhabits today. Number 7. Pikon Koi. If you venture into the jungles of Thailand and Laos, legend has it you might encounter a one-legged phantom-like ghost who hops around on one leg yelling "Koi, Koi, Koi." Known as Pikon Koi, its appearance varies from one story to the next, with some tales claiming that the creature has a fly-like tube mouth, while others describe the ghost as resembling a monkey or langur. The Thai Dam people of northeastern Thailand believe that the Pikon Koi is a long-haired, petite woman who has a backwards foot and speaks the opposite of reality. Nearly all accounts agree on 2 things: that the Pikon Koi is hideous and cannot climb trees. Legend advises travelers who sleep in the jungle to lay with their feet crossed or together, or they're at risk of having the blood sucked out of their toes by the bizarre entity. Buddhist monk Luang Pu Wen Sukino claimed that he fought many Pikon Koi at night while traveling through the jungle in Khammouan, Laos. He said that they were the size of a 13 or 14-year-old human, and that they were thin with bulging stomachs and dark features. Luang also claimed that the ghosts were armed with crossbows, and that they eventually surrendered to him and his fellow travelers and invited them into their home. Based on this tale, some have theorized that the Pikon Koi are actually an ethnic group called the Kara De, and that they perhaps hunted and cannibalized humans. The most recent evidence of the Pikon Koi is a strange footprint found inside of a cave in Thailand's sparsely populated Loei province. A local cultural agency director claimed that the Pikon Koi are a rarely seen ethnic group, further pointing towards the possibility that the so-called ghosts are actually people. Do you believe in the Pikon Koi? Let me know in the description below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons too. Number 6. Cambodian Jungle Woman. In early 2007, a naked Vietnamese woman emerged from the woods in northeastern Cambodia's Ratchankiri province. She was found covered in mud and scavenging for food. Local police chief Mao San described her as half animal, half human, and said that she couldn't speak any intelligible language, and that she slept during the day and was awake all night. A local family identified her as their daughter, Rakram Pyongyang, who had vanished around 19 years earlier. While many people questioned whether this was true, the authorities seemed perfectly happy with the explanation and sent the woman to live with the family. She struggled to adjust to normal life and often tried to return to the jungle. The woman also avoided wearing clothes, leading people to believe that she was feral and had spent too many years living in the wilderness and away from humans to understand language or social norms. But then, in 2016, a Vietnamese man came forward and claimed that the woman was his daughter, Tak, who had disappeared just a year earlier at age 23 amid a mental breakdown. He provided sufficient documentation to prove it, and with the support of both immigration officials and the family who had taken Tak in, she was returned to Vietnam. Number 5. Mowgli Girl. In early 2017, someone discovered a young girl among a troop of monkeys in India's Kataniragat Wildlife Sanctuary near the Nepal border. Her hair was matted, she was wounded, walking on all fours, picked up food with her mouth, and communicated only by screeching. This led to the widespread belief that she was raised by monkeys and earned the nickname Mowgli Girl after the feral child from the Jungle Book. But authorities were quick to shut this idea down, noting that the territory the girl was found in contained surveillance equipment and was patrolled enough to where she couldn't have spent that long in the forest before someone noticed her. Numerous people came forward saying that this girl was their lost daughter, but nobody could substantiate their claims. She was sent to a shelter where staff renamed her Essas. In an update published last year in Outlook India, employees said that she has made considerable progress from where she was first rescued. She still can't talk, but she walks, eats normally, and finds nonverbal ways to express her feelings. Officials concluded that Essas was likely abandoned by her parents due to her intellectual disabilities, rather than raised in the jungle by monkeys, even though that's where she somehow ended up. They believe that she spent a few days at most with the primates she was discovered with. Number 4. Jungle evolution. The term pygmy is used to describe hunter-gatherer groups who tend to be smaller in stature than the average person. Found throughout the rainforests of Africa, Southeast Asia, and South America, members of these tribes are typically less than 5 feet or 1.5 meters tall. For a long time, scientists have been trying to figure out why, with theories often suggesting that prevalent diseases or parasites are responsible for pygmies' diminutive size. But a 2018 study veered radically off this path and instead suggested that these tribes have evolved over thousands of years to be smaller than average, because it makes them more efficient at living and moving throughout the jungle. Lead study author Dr. Vivek Venkatraman pointed out that the jungle's thick vegetation and other obstacles make it difficult to move around with ease. This navigation takes a lot of energy, so it would make sense that a group of people who lived in that environment would evolve to become shorter and smaller, according to Dr. Venkatraman. The research focused on the Chamani people who live in Bolivia, the Batek people of peninsular Malaysia, and average-sized people who live near the rainforest. It quickly became evident that taller people walk much more slowly in a jungle setting. This is because they take longer strides than short people, and traversing the landscape forces them to constantly adjust their movement, expending 20 to 30% more of their energy than walking on open, flat ground. Venkatraman said that the results show that in just 20,000 years or less, evolution can cause a population to change considerably. So, there is definitely some truth to stories about little people living in the forest, and it can be explained by science. Number 3. Real-life Tarzan. During the Vietnam War in 1972, a man named Ho Van Thang packed up his 2 sons and fled civilization after losing his wife and other 2 children to a bomb dropped by American forces. For the next 40 years, the family lived in isolation and relied entirely on nature to fulfill their needs. They built wooden houses, drank water from a nearby river, and ate fruit and meat sourced exclusively from their surroundings. The group went undetected until 2013, when locals discovered them living off the grid and alerted authorities, who forced the family to return to civilization. Residents had long believed the family was dead and were completely shocked. Refusing to believe that the Vietnam War ended decades ago, Tan spent every day holed up in the corner of his room and obsessing over his desire to return to the wilderness. He died in 2017. One of his children, Ho Van Long, had lived in the jungle since he was 2 years old. It was all he knew. He had never seen a car, struggled to understand the concept of electricity, and didn't know what a woman was, according to filmmaker Alvaro Cerezo, who spoke with news.com.au about his documentary showcasing Long's life. Long quickly became known for his gentle, childlike demeanor and his superb survival skills. He now leads a productive life and is integrated into society on some level, but struggled to adjust well enough to completely abandon jungle life and eventually return to living in a hut. Thankfully, he is no longer isolated from the world and maintains regular contact with his older brother and other community members with more mainstream lifestyles. Number 2. The allure of uncontacted tribes. There are entire societies who live in near-complete isolation deep in the jungles, effectively cut off from society and all things modern. Their traditions, customs, cultures, and lifestyles are essentially the same as those of their ancestors. Worldwide, there are over 100 of these groups, according to advocacy group Survival International. Known as uncontacted tribes, their existence made headlines around the globe in 2018 when a group called the Sentinelese killed an American missionary who ventured into their territory. These indigenous islanders live on North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Islands, an archipelago in the Indian Ocean. Their unwanted visit from John Chow, who traveled illegally to the island in an effort to bring them the word of God, proves that the word uncontacted is a bit misleading. For even the most remote tribes, it's nearly impossible to avoid crossing paths with the outside world, even when there are laws in place to protect them from it, such as the case with the Sentinelese. Many tribes fight to maintain their separateness and preserve their lifestyle and culture to the point where they will readily kill an imposing outsider, as the world learned when Chow turned up dead. The Indian government, which has jurisdiction over the island, tightened its policy, banning outsiders from going there, and used Chow's death as an opportunity to remind the public of why doing so is a terrible idea. While the hostility of the Sentinelese and other tribes may seem alarming, uncontacted tribes have far more reason to fear us than the other way around, including their lack of immunity and resistance to diseases of the modern world, and our tendency to destroy the environment they live in. It's natural to be curious, but we also have to accept that we can only get so close and learn so much before an uncontacted tribe makes it clear that we are unwelcome. And it is society's duty to accept that and respect their desired distance. Number 1. El Tunce. Tunce is both an indigenous expression, which means fear, and the name of a terrifying being that is said to roam the Peruvian Amazon at night. Like many mystical creatures, it's a shapeshifter capable of taking on different appearances, and will usually approach a person resembling one of their loved ones. Some accounts claim that El Tunce is a tormented soul who moves throughout the jungle at night looking to punish people, while other stories state that the creature is a man who was murdered by his fiancé's father. El Tunce is recognizable based on its unique whistle, which intensifies as it gets closer. Many people claim to have escaped its wrath, and nobody knows exactly what happens to its victims who don't survive. It's believed that El Tunce may abandon or devour its targets. In fact, nobody has come up with a logical or solid explanation for what El Tunce even is, and there are varying accounts, usually by region, of what it's like to encounter one. but the belief in its existence remains strong. Thanks for watching. Have you ever heard of any of these legends before? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.